If you're a powerlifter who wants to make the most out of your top sets, you need to make sure that your warm-ups are on point. This is because a good warm-up routine will prime you for your maximal effort sets without overly fatiguing you. But how are you supposed to warm up to your top sets to get the best results? Do you need to change your warm-ups depending on whether the prescription is RPE based or percentage based? And what about the difference between heavy singles and multi-rep sets? Do they need different warm-ups? So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a typical warm-up routine that I give to powerlifters. It's easy to follow and it will give you the steps that you need to warm up to your top sets, from heavy singles to multi-rep sets and from RPE sets to percentage based sets. In turn, you can be rest assured that you'll be hitting your top sets as strong as possible. And stick around to the end so you get even more strategies to help you perform better in your own training. Hello and welcome to the Strong Ambitions channel. My name is Cheung and I'm a powerlifting coach from the UK with over 10 years of experience coaching athletes just like you. And in this channel, we talk about all things that are related to powerlifting. Just to help your training out more, if there is anything that you would like me to make a video on in the future, please write it in the comments below. Now, it is worth noting that before we actually dive into the protocol itself, this is just a rough guide and a starting point. But give it a go and adjust it to your liking, and don't forget to let me know how it goes. First up, warming up to a heavy single at a given RPE. So when warming up for this kind of set, I'd first recommend at least 10 to 12 reps with an empty barbell or an extremely light weight. So the reps that you do with an empty barbell will probably make up about half of your total warm-up reps. This is because it gives you a chance to practice coordination with minimal fatigue, and so you can also try and feel out how your muscles and joints are feeling on that given day. And if you are feeling good, then great, then you can continue with the warm-up. If not, you can reconsider revisiting some of your warm-up drills that you may have done before moving the barbell, or you can repeat another set with the empty barbell itself. Now, in order to figure out how to warm up to a top RPE single, you need to actually figure out what your last warm-up set is probably going to be. Now, to figure out what your last warm-up is going to be, you need to choose a load that is roughly 2 RPEs below your estimated load for your top RPE single. For example, if you are prescribed a top single at RPE 8, then your last warm-up should be about RPE 6. And for most people, that might be anywhere between 4 to 6% below what your RPE 8 single is. And the reason why I suggest this is actually simple. If you're not having a best training session and your last warm-up felt like an RPE 7 rather than RPE 6, then you can make a small conservative jump to hit your top RPE single while still getting a consistent number of warm-up sets. And if it feels slightly easier than an RPE 6, then you can always make a bigger jump to hit your top single. If it ended up being much easier than an RPE 6 single, then it is worth adding an extra 5% to add another warm-up set to see where your strength is on that day. So the warm-up routine from here would be as follows. So the second warm-up set is 50% of your last warm-up set load, and you should do that for about 4 to 5 reps. So the third set is going to be about 80% of your last warm-up set, and you should do that for about 2 to 3 reps. The fourth set is going to be 90% of your last warm-up set weight, and you should perform that for a single. And then your fifth set, and hopefully your last warm-up set, should be the last warm-up set that you chose, and you should do that for another single as well. So you should probably consider having about 3 to 4 minutes rest between each set during your first 3 warm-up sets, and during your final warm-up sets you should consider pushing that to about 4 to 5 minutes. So you can also use this same protocol if your top set is not quite a single but is either a double or a triple as well. So you can also use the same protocol for low rep top sets as well. For example, if you're doing doubles, triples, or even 4s. Now, what if you're warming up to a lighter single? Let's say the top single is an RP 5 or 6 single. Now, if you're short on time, or if you're a lifter that has a little bit more experience, then you can probably afford to skip maybe the first or second warm-up set. But if you are a beginner or an intermediate lifter, the benefit of keeping the same number of warm-up sets is to give you an opportunity for you to actually practice your technique. And it's unlikely going to fatigue you, as the warm-up sets that you're going to be doing is going to be very low intensity anyways. Moving on then. So let's take a look at warming up to a top single at a given percentage. But before we do, I would massively appreciate it if you guys super quickly hit the like button and click subscribe if you haven't already done so. Now back to the topic. First off, start once again with 10 reps of the empty bar or a very light weight if you are a stronger lifter. So the second set is going to be 50% of your working set less than your top single, and you're going to do that for about 4 to 5 reps. On your third set, you are going to be doing 25% of your working set less than your top single, and you should do that for about 2 to 3 reps. And then on your fourth set, you are going to be doing 15% of your working set less than your top single, and you should do that for a single. And then on your last warm-up, your fifth and final set, you are going to be doing 5% of your working set less than your top single for 1 rep only as well. On this set, it will give you a bit of an indicator with how your top single is likely going to be feeling then. If you're feeling primed for the top set, then great, go ahead. But what if your final warm-up set felt bad? Then you may want to reconsider the actual prescribed load that you've been given in your program. If this is the case, don't feel disheartened. Instead, know that you've warmed up effectively and safely tested your capabilities for that day. And if you do have a coach, then you may want to speak with them to see what they would want you to do instead. Okay, moving on. But what if you're warming up to higher rep sets? Well, as a quick example, let's say you are performing a top set or a first working set that is 5 or more reps. And this will probably mean that you will need less warm-up sets. And this is simply because the overall intensity of this first top set is going to be lighter. So for the percentage-based multi-rep set, you can first start your warm-up set with an empty bar or a lightweight for 10 reps as usual. The second set will be 40% of your working load for the same number of reps as the number of reps prescribed for your top set or first working set. So the third set will be 70% of your working load for about 2/3 of the number of reps that you are going to be doing for your top set. So for example, if you're prescribed a top set of 6 reps, then you're going to do 2/3 of 6, which will give you 4 reps. Then on your fourth and last warm-up set will be about 85% of your working load for about 1/3 of the number of reps for your top set. So if your top set is 6 reps, then you're going to do this weight for 2 reps. Now, if you are warming up to a multi-rep set that is an RPE prescription, then you can use the same protocol that we've just covered. The only difference is that you need to base your load for the warm-up sets off of an estimated load of what you think you may hit for your top set. So there you have it, the warm-up protocol that I give to athletes if they're not sure how to hit their top sets with confidence. But there are some other strategies that I can sometimes employ to help my lifters to get the most out of their training. You can try the following out for yourself. So the first strategy is actually adding a heavier single. So if you have a higher rep top set, try implementing a slightly heavier single as part of your warm-up routine. Do note that I said heavier, not necessarily heavy. By doing a slightly heavier single, you could potentially enhance your capacity to perform a main working set with a slightly lower RPE. Why is that beneficial? That's obviously going to be beneficial because in terms of acute fatigue, there's actually less coming from the first top set. So the second strategy is altering how you execute the repetition in your warm-up sets. So altering the rep execution is another way of priming yourself for your top set. So for instance, you can potentially try manipulating the tempo of your warm-up set, or you can try adding a pause to it as well. And so what this does is that it helps you coordinate yourself a little bit better, just so that you can get yourself in a better position when it comes to your technique. And so this is particularly useful for you if you know you are someone who has any sort of bad habits or tendencies with their technique. So for example, if you are someone who tends to dive bomb when it comes to doing a squat, you may want to add a slow eccentric in your warm-up sets when it comes to descending into the hole in the squat. Or if you know that you are someone who occasionally cuts depth a little bit too much, then you may want to add an extra pause at the bottom of the squat. Okay, so the third strategy is actually repeating a warm-up set. Finally, so some lifters may choose to repeat a warm-up set as part of their strategy when it comes to warming up. Now, I actually have some conflicting thoughts about this, and here's why. On one hand, if you are in, let's say, in a cold room, or you have been a bit more sedentary over the last couple of days, then it can be a good idea to add an extra warm-up sets just to prime you a little bit more. However, if you are finding that your warm-up sets are just hard, you might actually just be more fatigued that day. And if this is the case, then repeating a warm-up set may not actually prime you anymore. And actually what you should be focused on doing is actually selecting a slightly more conservative load for your top set instead. And at the end of the day, this is essentially what auto-regulating is. So that was a rough guide for warming up to a top set. It can work for many athletes, but what do you guys think of it? Is it similar to what you already do? Is it too many sets? Is it too few sets? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one.